Time differences are the worst. What is time, anyway? I want to have this meeting now. I have other things to do. Good afternoon. Well, good morning. And I've popped in 3 suggested sort of areas of study. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Basically, yes. Potentially. Based on that, what would we say are the subsections? Sure. Yeah. Okay, how about this? Shoving it into an equation effectively. What is the main problem? High level solutions. It's the legalities surrounding it. You are invariably talking about Ukraine. Hopefully. EU regulations and directives that were being brought into the financial sector. Love a little bit of sovereignty, i.e. the US, the Middle East, Russia, China. Okay, brilliant. See you next week. Oh yeah, you're still here. Is everybody okay?
Welcome back to Log. I'm Talisa, a documentary photographer and filmmaker, a master's student in global political economics, and founder of the Pilgrim Project.
What am I focusing on? I don't care about Methuselah. The realist tradition in international political economy. Those are the real words? What? How on earth is that acceptable? Oh my goodness, make that stop. Cleaned up version. As far as I'm concerned, the vast majority of music that was released when I was a kid, like, honestly, I just think it's a lot of like, e. Nah, dude.
I don't even know. I've had some meetings today. I've done a lot of coursework today. There's been a lot of editing today. There's been some file management today. And yet, I think maybe half of the things I expected to get done today have gotten done today because I have no sense of time. Welcome to video number 2 of Log. I promise I don't normally sound like this. Or I apologize that I don't normally sound like this.
Yeah, just to really quickly add to that as well, the fact that we can also see, though it is obviously supplementary, we also have enormous M&A. So the minute that you do have that development happening in the BRIC countries, for example.
Heading back to the UK, I was very nearly denied boarding because I had to prove that I had settled status, which anybody who knows is impossible to do because it is a digital visa. Thanks, Brexit. Let's go home.
Good morning. My flat is an absolute tip, which is not surprising because I haven't been here since November. This morning I had my interview, which I think went really well. I did not stop talking. I'm gonna go get some groceries now so that there is food to eat. Obviously, that's what groceries are for. I think I might need a coffee.
The US and Israeli attacks have killed nearly 800 people.
We will never retreat. We will dismantle Hezbollah.
Good morning. You may feast your eyes on this gloriously grey exterior. I had a lovely dinner last night with Dalton, a fellow accepted society scholar, the German-American commercial pilot and PhD candidate. Today, priority is, there's a photo competition that is due by 5 o'clock this afternoon. Por siempre, I have econ coursework. I've got policy brief research. Yeah, I really need to get my bum to the gym. I'm gonna get some bread and the best jam in England, which in my opinion is the Gales apricot jam.
I just need to pick anything. Pick any one thing and finish it. I am spread mentally all over the place.
Grasslands that fed animals, it came for food.
Today's project, get back into the gym, is complete. So tomorrow we just do it again. I'll be immensely grateful for it when I'm walking the Camino and not crying. Well, at least not because of my posterior chain. Good evening. It is still Thursday. That's nice.
Helena Augusta, Pilgrim, Roman, Supermum. It's a little murky. So quickly I smell the origins of Timu to victory. So let's go on a pilgrimage, shall we?
I've gone for a walk outside. I've had my coffee. I've had a really good breakfast. I'm 2 chapters into this book that has nothing to do with my research or anything important. And I'm gonna go to the gym in a minute. I'm just having one of those days where I feel like everything should be further along than it is. Sometimes it's just a mood and a feeling, and they happen. It's hormones and how well you slept and what else is going on in the world. And sometimes it's your intuition telling you that something isn't quite right. But that can be that something isn't quite right with your external world. It could also be that something isn't quite right with your internal world, and you are not all that sure. And so the danger is that you go and make some big, overarching, dramatic change to your external world. And then it turns out it was never that. It never had anything to do with that. And it leaves you a bit paralyzed to making changes that you actually do need to make. My father is back in Lebanon by choice. And yeah, do I have political opinions? Yes, I do. Do I think that people ought to, or perfectly have their right to, share political opinions on public platforms? Yes, I do. However, I just generally prefer a discussion to a lecture.
Being able to see a lot of this through the lens of, through the lens actually of the public intellectual. Unfortunately, let's come back to the purpose of this macing. You would need to once again go in with a different set of reforms. Difficulty with calculating the benefits and liabilities. Our research, from the perspective of energy and environment. And that can be equally applicable for all of them. For example, I mean, the Nordic countries and bringing in those taxes between the Swedish channel and the Danish. There's a lot off the coast of Scotland. Pop any questions that you have into it. Does that make sense? Exactly. Yes. 2-3 days time. All right. Bye, everybody.
I don't like relying on other people or the whims of the wind. And I'm sort of trying to, again, effort my way into peace and fight my way into satisfaction, and none of those things ever work. So let's go to the gym. Our favorite place. I'd rather be on a mountain. Heading back from the gym, and I just wanted to have a moment of shout out, no notes, for the podcasts that are produced by The Economist and the FT, in particular this afternoon, Unhedged, by Katie Martin and Rob the American. And honestly, I know it might surprise you, but genuinely some of the gutturally funniest shit I hear in a week.
We didn't have a second reading because that was the shorter version of the Gospel for this morning.
So I sat next to them in the cottage watching the game.
Yeah. Is certainly our favourite.
All the sparks! Oh!
The increase in solar power in Lebanon's uptake by individuals, so the consumer, from 2021 to 2024 went up by 1,000%. We're moving away from renewables being a nice to have.
I am going to the London School of Economics this afternoon via the Acorn Bookstore because I love their curation. I am attending a summit on diplomacy. Today's panels are focused on migration and AI. Then I'm switching campuses to King's College London for a book launch. Well, that turned out to be absolutely brilliant. However, I did see Katie Martin, who is a Financial Times journalist and co-head of the Unhedged podcast, and I had the biggest celebrity moment, and I wanted to stop and talk to her and just be like, I love you, Katie. But I chickened out, and I tried again afterwards, and I chickened out again. The speaker, the author of this fabulous book, had absolutely no right to be that funny. I was in stitches, and I spoke to him afterwards, told him about my research, and he quite literally was like, "Are you on LinkedIn? You should follow me. I would love to hear about this." And he's actually written in my book. Can't wait. Was it something? Can't wait to hear about medieval money laundering. Right, just about home, and I have to rush to dump all my gym kit, put something down me, and go off to an appointment in Primrose Hill.
Do you want me to affect
You want a drink?
I'm heading to the gym. It is 10 o'clock and I've done quite well with a bunch of policy brief research today, outlining that. I have a meeting with my advisor at 11:30.
How are you? Because I'm going to be walking a pilgrimage in May.
And then I have a meeting with a client. Great meeting with a very happy client, so that's really good. And I am going to get a Lebanese wrap with a lot of garlic.
Like, you know, yeah.
Good morning. It's Thursday, and I have no interest whatsoever in doing the coursework that I need to do here for the next 2 hours, but that's fine because I get to go to my first day of volunteering at the Confraternity of St. James down in Southwark. I went to visit them before I did my first Camino 2 years ago, and they're wonderful. It's a group of people. We volunteer, and you can come in at any point between 11 a.m. and 3:30 into the church there and ask all sorts of questions. They also have a big old library. So either way, whether there's loads of people with loads of questions or there's no one, then I get to hermit bookshelves.
What a wonderful thing to spend time with people who share your unhinged passion and you find fabulous. I met a Swiss man who's walked the Camino Cordo last year with his grandson, a pile of Englishmen and English women who've walked the Via de la Plata, the Mozarabe, the Norte, Francés, Portuguese, you name it. The library is run by a particularly special gentleman called William, though I see him as an oracle because there was nothing I mentioned regarding my research that William didn't have a book or pamphlet or personal story about. He was originally born in Malta. Both his parents were doctors and he was one as well. He walked his first Camino in 1992. He speaks French and Spanish. I also met Just, a financial journalist from the Netherlands, writing a book on Camino stories through time. I can't wait to go back next week.
Good morning, good people of the internet who can bother to watch this. Time for some coffee. I have to work on my policy brief. I have coursework reading to do. I have video editing to do. I have photography, the photographs and editing and handed in to a client. I have reading. I have research. I have to eat at some point.
And that only works because of that particular regulation at the...
Hello Saturday. We are by St George's Cathedral in Southwark, and it was originally built in 1220, and parts of it are still original from 1220 to 1420, but then there was a major refurbishment in the 1800s, and we are here for the conference for the Pilgrims to Rome.
Lo, thus, by day my limbs, by night my mind, for thee and for myself no quiet find.
Did you know that Romeo, as in Romeo and Juliet, means pilgrim to Rome? Makes that opening sonnet on Holy Palmer's Kiss look a little different. We are about to talk books, so let me say thank you so much for watching this second log. Next time, I'm initiated into the Royal Geographic Society, I'm hazed by a librarian, and we are last minute delivering, publishing and packing for the first pilgrimage of 2026. See you in 2 weeks.
Yesterday, obviously, I went to the conference with the Pilgrims to Rome, and I purchased these 6 books. So a bunch of these are memoirs of walking the Via Francigena. There are a lot, and I mean a lot of memoirs of people who have walked the Camino. There are books, there are TV shows, there are films, etc. The Via, however, has far fewer people on it, and unsurprisingly, therefore, far fewer memoirs. Here we've got one from Victoria Field, who gave a talk yesterday, one from
David Jury, and he actually continued on to Jerusalem. And apparently that book is coming, so I'm quite excited to hear about that because there aren't too many people who managed to go the whole way. And then this one really just took me mainly by the title. So this is actually written by Brian Mooney, and Brian Mooney was a Reuters journalist for 30 years, so I have high hopes for actually the quality of writing. So not necessarily simply relying on the value of the story. But what we have here is A Long Way for a Pizza, which is his initial memoir of walking the Via, and then he got back home and apparently was teased for the fact that originally pilgrims would have in fact had to walk back. They would not have flown. So Brian took this to heart, returned to Rome, and walked back the wrong way for a pizza. And I'm sorry, I know it's very basic, but this really tickles me. And otherwise, I have picked up a short little history of the Pilgrim's Guide to Rome in Charlemagne's time. Curious. And the newest addition to the Via Francigena, it's an extension from London to Canterbury. I was able to borrow a bunch of books, and these come directly from the Oracle, William Griffith. So the Junta de Galicia is a governmental department, and they will be enacting policy, regulation, etc. in Galicia on behalf of the pilgrimage there. Sorry, for those who don't know, Galicia is the province of Spain that has Santiago de Compostela in it. Now, this is in Spanish, which does test me a little bit. I do read, I do speak, though in my opinion, appallingly. Take the time, have the time to improve upon. I don't know if you've noticed, time is not something I have in abundance at the moment. I have some thoughts, but they involve moving. Placemaking and meaning making on the Camino de Santiago. She wrote a PhD on the creation of places and meaningful communities. Egeria was a pilgrim in the 400s or very, very late 300s. This one is full of footnotes, and I do love me a footnote. The journey that was taken by Léon de Rosmital in 1466. My French is better than my Spanish. Don't have the chance to practice things. They do sort of tumble out of your brain. So as I go, I'm remembering what I knew. I popped into Cotswolds, which is sort of like British REI, if you will, and I had a thought about water bottles, because one of the things that everybody laughs at me about is the fact that my pack weighs a lot. Mind you, my camera lens setup is between 3 to 5 kilos by itself, so it's pretty significant. Laundry on, you know, hoovering, cleaning, all those domestic duties that I don't want to do and would like even less to talk about or show you.